So let's have a conversation about dyspraxia in business. There's going to be some minimal editing in this video. I just want to talk directly to you guys. So my name is Nathan, and I have a social enterprise called Neuroexpression. Neuroexpression is about empowering neurodivergent individuals, neurodivergent communities, neurodivergent artists, and it also features other things such as providing facilitation on neurodiversity, whether it's dyspraxia, dyslexia, etc. And also it has the premise of creating reasonable adjustments and paying neurodivergent artists. So in a nutshell, that's what we do. So like I said, I'm just going to let this video run. I've got my iPad with some notes, so I'll just be going back and forth. So this is basically talking about, I guess, my dyspraxia and my business, so to speak. So it's like my neurodivergence and my business. And first I want to talk about, the way things have evolved. Been trying to make weekly content. I've had this commitment of making weekly content on YouTube. And that's been really, really challenging because there's this whole thing of balancing the content of YouTube and also balancing the content, or balancing the commitment of everyday life. So at the moment we've got working a regular job, working on neuroexpressions, and also trying being consistent on making weekly content. And that has been a real challenge. But at the same time, I feel like I'm evolving as a creator, as I'm hopefully becoming more confident and hopefully becoming better at what I do. But it's very, very challenging. And I think, like with YouTube, there's so many elements. There's the title creation, there's the descriptions, there's the SEO, there's the thumbnails. I can't emphasize how hard it is to make a good thumbnail. Also, there's the actual content creation, whether it's the A roll, the B roll, the animation, and trying to make it as good as possible, having a fast pace. So that's been really challenging, and that's been challenging my dyspraxia. So talking about dyspraxia, and when we talk about dyspraxia, it's not just a motor coordination issue, it's also about other elements. Dyspraxia can affect your focus and concentration, and that's really been put to the test, my focus and my concentration. And at the moment I'm functioning on high levels of caffeine, which is probably not the best thing. But I've also been working out, which is really good. Working out is not just good for your physical health, it's also good for your mental health. And this is a way that I'm trying to manage my dyspraxia. Obviously I utilize accessible formats as flowcharts, or such as flowcharts, to help me. And I'm always trying to streamline processes, because being neurodivergent is hard to hold down a full-time job. But if you're holding down a full-time job and you're committing X amount of hours to a social enterprise, then that's excessively challenging. And I'm really, really committed to trying to do this. So the other thing I want to talk about is just trying to get business through facilitation. So trying to collaborate with other entities, so to speak. And basically the service that I'm offering is various things around neurodiversity. So it could be the awareness of neurodiversity, i.e. what is dyspraxia. It could be what is reasonable adjustments and how to implement reasonable adjustments. It could be about the Equality Act. It could be about how to be disability confident. It could be about how to empower service users. So this is something I've really am trying to work on. So there's various elements to this. There's writing the material, delivering the material, but then the step before that is actually getting the business. And fortunately, I've got someone who I refer to as G, and she's been making many contacts and inquiries, and hopefully we're going to have a few meetings, and hopefully we'll be bearing some fruit. We had some bad news, don't really want to get into that, but one of the business partnerships that we had has ceased to exist now due to something going on their end, and that's really sad. I really feel for them, but at the moment I can't get into that. But yeah, we're really trying to sell this facilitation. And this facilitation is part of the social enterprise, because a social enterprise isn't just about making money. Obviously we have to make money in a capitalism society, but a social enterprise is primarily about providing value and, you know, illustrating purpose and providing value to people. So in context, when you're doing facilitation, you know, and you're talking about dyspraxia and you're talking about neurodivergence, you want people to absorb that. You want people to go into that situation and come out with additional knowledge, additional empathy, and be able to engage in making the world more neurodiverse friendly or more neurodivergent friendly, which is one of the goals of neuroexpression. So one of the really positive things though, and again this is related to G, is building on the LinkedIn. Now, I didn't have any information or knowledge on LinkedIn. I guess I had a bit of a negative bias on LinkedIn. I didn't really understand the whole premise. I didn't really understand it, but I've grown to understand that there's a lot of business opportunities on LinkedIn, and G has been utilizing the LinkedIn to try and establish new connections and to build professional relationships. So it's basically like building professional relationships within a digital community. And what I would say is there's a few things here. One thing is, if you're trying to build digital professional relationships, from my experience right now, I think LinkedIn is the place to be. That looks like a good thing. Obviously, I'll be able to give a better analysis of that in the months and years to come, but LinkedIn seems to be a really good place to start. The other piece of advice I would say is that if you can get someone that can do some work for you, that's really good, because G has helped me streamline the process. I would not have been able to get to where I'm at now without her. So she's definitely been a beneficial addition to this. It's still a struggle, but anyone who knows anything about entrepreneurship, whether it's starting a business or social enterprise, it is a struggle, and we'll get into that in a bit as well. The one thing I'm thinking to myself though, and I'm saying to myself, Nathan, remember the passion, remember why you're doing this. So a big reason to why I'm doing this is someone who's neurodivergent. You know, I struggled in the educational context, and I struggled in the work context. Within education, I've got a degree, I've got 2 postgraduate degrees, and I've got a master's degree, but it was a massive struggle. And one of the biggest purposes of neuroexpression is to create a neurodivergent friendly world, or what I call a neurodiverse friendly world, through reasonable adjustment. So I'm still trying to hold on to that, and we're definitely trying to build a neurodivergent community. We're trying to pay, or we are paying neurodivergent artists, but this is all predicated on getting grants. So we're still moving with that passion, which moves on to the next bit. And the next bit is the grants. I'm waiting on grants, and the reason why grants are important is it enables that mission of paying people, and in particular, one of the things that I'm committed to is paying neurodivergent artists. So this one grant that I'm trying to do, I've applied for this grant to create a neurodivergent friendly exhibition. And what this will do, not only is the ambition to embrace the neurodivergent community, but it's also an opportunity to pay neurodivergent artists, and to pay them relatively well. So, and that's what we're doing. That's something that I want to pledge. I remember looking at another website where they were stating that a large proportion of people that are neurodivergent, there is an expectation from institutions for them to do things for free. So that exchange is basically saying that people that are neurodivergent don't have value, and that's something that is not, I don't think is acceptable. You know, doing things and being rewarded economically is a form of value. It's a transaction of value. And a lot of people would like to disguise things and say, oh, I'm giving you an opportunity. And that's great. But if you can give someone an opportunity and also pay them for their services, to me, that's a win-win. And I guess the other thing as well is I realized, like, taking this path is a hard path. Literally working full-time, working on my social enterprise, trying to do this content. We're talking 60 to 70 hours a week, and it's really, really hard. And you add in neurodivergence, and it becomes even harder. And I think it's my passion that's keeping me going. You know, the car's only going because of the passion. The passion is the fuel, so to speak. but it's really, really challenging. And I'm trying to tap into getting my exercise in to really enable me to have those dopamine hits and just have that well-being, because in the last couple of days things have really been challenging. Another thing to talk about is also the whole thing about setting up a social enterprise or a CIC is that you have a board of trustees. So I have 2 trustees, and every 3 months we have meetings. And we had a meeting recently, and in that meeting it was to give updates on what's going good, what's going bad, and how things can improve. And it's just, this isn't a formality that needs to be done, and it's more than a formality. It's important because one of the purposes of a trustee is to hold you accountable to your vision, and understanding that the social enterprise, it's about providing social value, and that is something that I'm really committed to, providing social value. If it makes money but it doesn't provide social value, then it wasn't worth it. So I'm really committed to that cause. I had this idea of creating, the one idea of creating a neurodiverse or neurodivergent friendly exhibition. We're waiting on the grant. I've also got this other idea of creating a neurodiverse friendly book or a neurodivergent friendly book. And this is a book that is primarily geared towards neurodivergent audiences. So this will be a book that will have larger fonts, that will have sans serif fonts that are more sans serif fonts, or it will have fonts that are more accessible for neurodivergent audiences. And also it will have flowcharts, it will have illustrations, and what I want to create is an immersive experience that will be like an accessible format, something that that will speak to a neurodivergent person. And I recently read a book called Visual Thinking, and it had a premise that neurodivergent thinkers are visual thinkers, and that's made me realize that the neurodiverse friendly book is so important for the neurodiverse friendly book is so important for the neurodiverse friendly community. So I'm really trying to work on that. I read a book called The Lean Startup, and it talks about building a prototype. So I'm hoping to build a prototype, i.e. a chapter of the neurodiverse friendly book, and then I hope to give that out for free. And I'm hoping that people within the neurodivergent community will give me feedback, and in giving feedback, then we'll be able to build on that feedback and create the best product possible, because I'm all about giving value. So that's where we're at the moment. I've probably missed out a whole load of stuff. My memory's terrible, again, not to make excuses, but dyspraxia and bad memory, there is like a correlation, there is a relationship there. But I just wanted to talk one-to-one, and that's where we are. I want to thank everyone that's been supportive, and everyone that's tried to help. It's definitely a long road, it's a long journey, but we're still engaged and we're still trying to persevere.